Hey, and welcome to chapter 7 of the fanfiction, A Glitch in the System. As usual, I hope you enjoy the video. Marinette almost knocked her poor parents flying as she burst out from the bakery door. She hadn't the time to apologize though, because she desperately needed to get to school. She needed to be on time. She missed so many lessons by being Ladybug, but she couldn't help that. However, she did try her best to be on time for class when there wasn't any hero duty to be done. As she ran, Marinette bumped into a photo booth, hitting her head harshly upon the door. As she backed away from the booth, she noticed that on the front there was a gorgeous photo of Adrien. In seconds, Adrien had disappeared and was instead replaced with another boy, Cat Noir. He was instead plastered over the photo booth in Adrien's place, his devilish smile, his emerald green kitten eyes, and his ruffled blonde hair. Marinette was shocked. She backed away further from the photo, almost tripping over herself as she began running further down the street. Then she turned to the side and there stood a huge billboard of Adrien. Once again becoming her crime-fighting partner, Cat Noir, Marinette began to freak out. Why was she seeing Cat everywhere? Was it a punishment for her being so cruel? As Marinette finally began to approach the school, her speed increased. She was running so fast that she didn't have any time to stop before accidentally colliding with a familiar face. Marinette and the figure crashed harshly onto the floor. Marinette landed on top of a chest. The chest felt masculine and strong. She'd had her eyes bolted shut because she was afraid of seeing Cat Noir appear once again. It was then that the figure spoke.
Well, hey there. Fancy seeing you land on me, Marinette.
Laughed the boy heartily. He was used to Marinette and her clumsiness, so he had a lot of patience, especially when it came to her. After all, she was one of the first friends that he had made. Marinette decided that she had to open her eyes. She bolted up as her eyes opened.
Adrien, I'm so uncomfortable, sorry,
she shouted as she again freaked out internally. Adrien smiled at her before lifting himself up.
Don't worry about it, Marinette. It's all good. At least none of us were hurt.
Adrien paused as he shyly brushed some hair behind his ears.
Unless, of course, you got hurt. Are you okay, Marinette? You do look slightly pale.
Adrien said with concern heard all throughout his voice. Marinette paused. It was then again that she saw Adrien change into Cat Noir.
Ah!
She screamed loudly as she tripped backwards, almost falling to the floor. Luckily, Adrien's cat-like reflexes allowed him to quickly place his arm behind her back as he pulled her tightly into his chest.
I've got you,
he said with a great relief. Marinette froze. Cat Noir was cradling her in his arms. No, Adrien was cradling her, holding her, cuddling her close to his chest. Marinette pushed herself away from Adrien's arms as his arms slapped down back to his sides. He was confused. He was also slightly offended. Was Marinette upset with him about something? He frowned sadly. Marinette was now again seeing her kitty, looking disappointed. She didn't know what to do, so she ran off into the school without a second thought.
Adrien's frown didn't leave his face as his thoughts began to fade into negativity.
Marinette hated him. His really great friend who he'd met on his first day of school had grown sick of him. If Marinette despised him this much, maybe Ladybug did too. After all, both her and Marinette seemed to have the same morals, the same kindness, and the same dislike of Chloe, his former childhood friend. His heart ached as now anxiety was filling his mind. How could this be? Why should Marinette dislike him? He was determined to fix things. He decided to walk to class as bad thoughts still took control of his mind. Plagg sighed into Adrian's shirt, hoping his favorite holder would be alright. Marinette planted herself down in her place. Her place was right next to her extremely nosy but caring best friend Alia. Marinette plastered a false smile onto her face in hopes that it would fool her best friend. She really didn't feel like pretending, but she needed to. Alia mustn't find out who Adrian was. Not that Marinette didn't trust Alia, of course. It was just too dangerous for someone to know the identities of both heroes. Alia turned to face her best friend, her eyes inspecting Marinette very closely. Marinette felt the piercing gaze of her friend as she began to sweat. Nerves again overwhelmed her. How was she going to hide this from Alia? She already hid her own identity, so shouldn't hiding her partner's be a lot easier? She frowned. Alia gasped. Aha! Marinette froze. Shoot. Had she accidentally given up her facade? Oh no, she frowned and Alia must have seen it. I knew that wasn't a real smile, Alia said almost too excitedly. Oh, I mean, are you okay, girl? And don't BS me. Alia spat. Marinette scrambled with the Lucky Charm inside her pocket, hoping it would relieve her stress. Wait, no, Cat Noir gave this to me. Ah! She threw the charm into the air and it smacked a blonde as they entered through the doorway.
Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous,
shouted a very annoyed Chloe. Marinette was horrified. She hadn't meant to throw the charm, and it was super special to her.
Sorry, Chloe,
Marinette blurted out as the anxiety began to overcome the blue net. Marinette scurried out of her chair, to Alia's dismay, and towards the angry blonde.
Who do you think you are, Dupen Chang?
Chloe angrily shouted as some spit flew into Marinette's face.
I'm sorry, Chloe. I didn't mean for it to hit anyone. Now can I?
Chloe rolled her eyes in disgust.
Who said you could speak? You have harassed me. Utterly harassed me. This is bullying and I demand you to be excluded from here.
Chloe spat bitterly. Marinette frowned.
I'm super sorry, Chloe, but can I please get my charm back?
She questioned nervously as she looked at the floor.
What, this thing?
Chloe said disgustedly.
Here, sure,
Chloe said to Marinette's delight.
Oh, thank you, Chloe.
Marinette yelped as she felt some worries fade. Chloe smirked.
Oh, but of course. I'll send it home with you.
Marinette paused.
Home? But why? I'm here now,
she said, feeling puzzled.
Yes, to the trash. Duh.
Chloe laughed as she flung Adrian's gift to Marinette in the garbage. Marinette's heart sank as Chloe walked away to her chair. Marinette ran to the trash and picked through, desperate to find the charm. It was then that Adrian walked into class, and he noticed Marinette scrambling in the bin.
Adrian, look how disgusting Marinette is. Ew.
Chloe laughed as Marinette continued to scramble. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed this part. And if you noticed that I wasn't properly screaming when it said to, or I wasn't being as loud as Chloe, it's because most of the time when I'm filming these, it is very late in my time. And the reason for that is because it's when the house is the most quiet. But I would do it properly, but my family are sleeping, so I don't want to get told off by shouting. But I hope that you don't mind too much. Anyways, bye, and be sure to leave a like and a comment if you would like.